when you're stick handling, I know I talked about this in skating. I said in skating comes from the head down. Stick handling comes from the feet up. Okay, so when I was talking about the skating is this is your balance, your head, your shoulders is your balance, and everything, your posture works its way down to your hips, knees, feet. So it's actually opposite what most people would think. So if anything that goes wrong in skating usually comes from the upper body. Even if you say, well, he's knock-kneed. It's knock-kneed because it's a hip or lower back issue or too much of a lean.
Yeah, it's like
Okay, so
upstream.
it's up.
Yeah.
Stick handling, on the other hand, is from down. So if people, they're amazed by it sometimes. It's like the second that I feel like I'm like, if I step on the ice and I feel like I'm not in flow, or if I feel like I'm a little stiff, all I simply do is I go down about a quarter inch. I get just a little lower, drop my hand just a little bit, and from that little, it's like you fit in the
small
groove,
adjustment,
and now everything works. Everything works. So when I see kids struggling even a little bit, they lose a puck when they shouldn't, or lose it too often. First thing I do is, come here. What you need to do is get down about this much more. Try this and start engaging your feet and your legs and transferring weight a little bit. And as soon as they do that, it's almost like butter. Everything softens up, quickens up, and gives you more range.
Yeah. So let me, is your first point going to kind of be like that? Let's say you're like hockey stance or skater stance, or like getting yourself in a good base position in order to get into your stick handling first. Is that kind of like point one that you're making here?
I guess that would be point one.
So this is branching on that. This is why it's very important to have good skating mechanics, let's say, get yourself in good posture, but this is something that you can address off ice, like learning how to hip hinge properly and sit into that good base. Yeah. That's why that's really important. And
athletic stance.
Yeah, the athletic stance, right? Because if you don't, like you said, especially with stick handling, puck control, everything is going to come from that base. If you can't get into that base, your stick handling is going to suffer no matter what. And that's, like you said, counterintuitive, because you wouldn't think that it's starting from there. People would think it's starting from my hands, right? My hands, my arms. If that doesn't work, I need to put my focus on my hands to fix it. It's like, no, if you want to be effective at doing it, and this is going to bleed into everything that you're going to talk about later, whether it's range, weight transfers, all that stuff is going to come from that base position. So it's very important that you can, and it's not just bend your knees, it's the hip hinge and sink into that. You bend your knees after you do the hip hinge so that you're in a good spot to get moving. So point one, 100%. Bang.
Yeah, so you got that athletic stance. And like, just to be clear on that, you've made a very good point, is that when you're teaching skills, like for example, let's say we say stick handling, it's more than just stick handling. Obviously, now we explained that there's some feet involved, but there's a blend of skills. So when you shoot a puck, stick handle, skate, they have to blend to be efficient and to be good at it. So if you're a not a good skater, you're limited actually to how good your hands could be or how your range of movements. I'll say it that way. So like, if you don't really understand loading, what people call it weight transfer now. I guess that's probably the proper term. I invented my own term called loading and exploding. That's just being able to act each leg as a spring to give you some pop. But let's say we're doing a toe drag. Okay, I teach toe drags, but not for toe drag reasons. But what that is, if you do a toe drag, there's a whole lot of stuff in there, but I want to stick on the skating part. If you're not a great skater and you don't understand how to load and explode or weight transfer properly, when you bring the puck into your body, you're like, so I'm a lefty. So when I bring that into my body, my right leg has to sink down. It's all loaded up in there. And then it's got to be loaded properly on my heel so I can push back out. So there's one. So now if I'm not a good skater and I don't weight transfer properly, then what happens is when I pull that in, I might keep my center of gravity right in the middle because I'm not good at loading and exploding. So when I bring it in, now I've limited my range to make the move and I've limited my range to escape the move. So I have a theory that every move that you make, you have to have an escape clause.
I just wrote it down.
Yeah, you have to have an escape
bring it up,
clause. So it's good if I'm coming to you on a one-on-one, let's say the toe drag, and I see your stick out and I can get you to bite, but he didn't. Now what? Now if I'm stuck with my feet because I'm not a good skater and I haven't adjusted my hands properly, and I'm going to actually get hammered.
Right.
But if I do this properly and I see, I have to change my options, and now get back to my other leg. So it all blends. And it's the same with shooting, right? Like the stick handling and shooting are very similar, but they blend with the skating.
Yeah.
So when you shoot, same thing. If you just shoot with your upper body, you think it's that. No, it's hips. It's skating, torquing the hips, follow through on your feet, like the toe plant, right? Shoulders, everything. So anyways, that's that for it blends.
Yeah.
That's my point.
Yep. Yep.
Okay. And then I think another important thing to understand when you're stick handling is always practice with your head up. Two things, head up and top hand. Okay. Just write those down in case I forget, because I'm going to be all over the map here.
Yeah, I know. It's okay.
So head up. Okay. It's like, why? And I ask the kids all the time, why do we keep our head up? And then all the snotty kids, like snot-nosed kids go, so you don't get hit. And I go, yeah. Well, like even the bantam kids and midget kids, yeah. So you don't get hit. Well, yeah, it's a very good answer. But what else? So you can see plays. Yeah. So it's like when you're stick handling, create the habit of. And I can't believe when I watch some high end hockey how guys get hammered because they end up starting to look at the puck. So when you're stick handling, get in the habit of looking up, right? But creating. What do some guys call it? That swivel vision?
Yeah, head on a swivel.
Head on a swivel thing?
Yeah.
Yes. But more importantly than that is train your eyes to be out and looking. Okay, so it's okay, obviously. Yeah, but what are you looking for? So what you're looking for is not just what's in your way. What you're looking for is you're trying to create layers of vision. So if I'm stick handling, I'm looking here, but I'm looking beyond that. I'm looking at movement. I'm looking at all kinds of different things. So that in a game, it's not just I'm looking where I'm going. I'm looking at who's coming, who's opening up, where I can go, where I can't go. Like all these things have to be going through my head. So if you, even for a second, especially at the higher levels, if you handle a puck. So let's just say I use this with D a lot. When a D, let's say you get a pass, you're on the blue line, you get a hard pass across. Blue line or neutral zone, whatever. D fires it across to you real quickly. If you have to catch the puck and look down, like look down to make sure you got it and then look up, in real time, it's a lifetime. If you can avoid having to look down because you've got used to handle it, you know how to handle it and cradle it or hard catch it, you know where it's coming, and then you could just catch it at the same time with your head up and seeing. You being 5 feet away from me, you might as well be 25 now, because I've created that split second that gives me all kinds of time, so that I can slow the game right down simply by keeping my head up and eyes up. So now if I'm a D at the blue and I get that pass, if I have to do this and look up, and now you're taking my lane, this seems like I am rushed so bad, and that's where bad plays happen. Not all bad plays, but bad plays happen from there. Right? So I see rush, so you see bobbles, and it's like panic mode. So just a simple thing like that, if I can collect it with my head up, or my head's up already, I already see you coming. So, okay, no problem. I see you coming, but I also see what's open or what's not open, so I can make a different play. Yeah. I can change on a fly by keeping my head up.
Yeah, and then just sticking on that point, people say that, you said it while you were talking, is they have great vision or they can slow the game down. You know, and people will say that and they don't really know what that means. Right. Like, what does that mean, that you can slow the game down?
Right.
You know, and it's that exact thing. I was saying this on the ice the other night when we were with the one group, is little things like that gain you time.
Yeah.
Is what makes the game slow down. So the biggest adjustment that kids have when they jump to higher levels is, wow, the game's so much faster. It's like, well, why is it faster? Mm-hmm. You can skate as fast as that guy.
Yeah.
Everyone skates about the same speed. Everyone's in the ballpark of, so what makes it way faster? And it's the ability to make faster decisions, because people can do things like that. They have their eyes up and they can make quick plays because they don't need to take the time with the 2 stick handles and looking down to make sure they have it before they make a play, whatever. They can get it and move it. Their eyes are always up. They're always looking around.
Yeah.
That's what makes the game slow down, because the guys that can't do that take the extra split second to make a decision or to get a shot off or whatever.
Yep.
And that's the biggest adjustment is that.
Well, okay, so someone will argue this and they would be right, saying that, well, it's faster if you play in the NHL. It's faster if you're playing OHL or college. Yes, it is faster. Physically, it is faster than midget or junior B. Like, you have the elite, but it's not it's not so physically fast that it's like, whoa, like it is, but you're 100% right. It's more the decision making and time. Like you just don't have time to make plays because one, they're physically fast, but their decision making with the elite players is much quicker than it is with Johnny Buckshot.
Right. Like if you jump from the OHL to the NHL, obviously on average, this actual speed of people moving is quicker, but not that much quicker. Like you could take most guys that play in the OHL, I would say most guys that play in the OHL, and they're
in the range.
They're in the range. That's what I mean, right?
They're in the range. Like you're there, or you're just not fast enough. Like there is that,
right?
But you're in the range.
You're in the range.
You're in the range.
That's what I mean. Like there's average speed is going to be higher, but the range, you're in the ballpark.
So it's like the mental side is more of what we're talking about when we say the game speed is high.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So like just another little thing on here, just as we're talking about this, we're talking about dusting it off. So like a lot of people wouldn't consider, like, see, a lot of the things that are actually essential are things that people don't teach because it doesn't sell. Yeah. Like if I took a guy, a defenseman, like I watch in the OHL a lot of games, and I could pick out little things with D where they lose their shots right away. They lose their opportunities because they get a hard pass across and they're used to, this is going to be so subtle, okay? And this is stick handling. You get a hard pass across, let's say on your forehand side. So it comes to you and you just cradle it enough that it gets outside your feet. What happens now is you're in a position where you have to adjust. So that little thing, so adjustment means your feet are moving towards the puck, or you have to dust it off a couple times. And the 10th of a second it takes to dust off, you've got a body in front of you. So the art of learning how to have a hard catch and not dusting it off, hard catch just simply means it's bang, like that. You're stopping the puck, deadening the puck to make a play with your head up. That changes your whole game. I see it game after game. Yeah. I see guys collecting a puck on a pass, which is still stick handling, even though it's saying passing, where they catch it and they cradle too much and they try to shoot off balance too often. So they get a good opportunity to score, and they get they're in the right positions, but because they throw themselves off balance, they haven't adjusted their stick handling or their body positioning to shoot. So those are like the finite little things that are more advanced, obviously, but these are the things that they don't sell because it's not, I can't use 1,000 pylons and tops.
It's not the Michigan.
Yeah, people are going to say, wow, that's a sick clinic. No, it's actually, but that thing will make you money.
Yeah, that's actual hockey.
Do this right and you're going to start getting points.
Yeah.
Or you're keeping the pucks in or whatever. So
yeah.
Anyways, and then the other thing I wanted to talk about was your top hand. I mean, I was going to say it's pretty simple, but it's not. Well, no, I know. It's pretty simple. Your top hand is your control hand. So I can work with kids, and it's almost like just squeeze your top hand and let this one be like a hook, like a guide.
Yeah.
The only times you really have to squeeze on this one is actually when you're releasing or ending or beginning a movement. In between, this needs to be moving around your stick all the time to adjust to range of motion. And so it's your top hand that does a lot of work. So again, back on my videos, I have one session that does range of motion, and it's just not all, but the starting of it is top hand. Just being able to control puck one-handed, top hand, and using your weight transfers to handle a puck. It's a little bit more advanced, but kids can do it.
Yeah, sure. That's something I was going to say. Is that something you, because I used to do that a lot. That was a drill I used to do.
Yeah.
My dad actually showed me it before you did, was the do one-handed stick handling.
Yeah, that's great.
Through your cones.
Top hand, man.
And you see how much strength you can build in that one hand. Who is the guy that was really good at the one-handed shooting? Was it Kovalev?
Kovalev.
Yeah. Could just rip it. One hand. Freaking rip it. Grip strength, man.
Rip it.
Yeah, could rip it. It's
skilled
interesting.
Guy.
Yeah. That's a good thing you can do.
Yeah. And then the next thing I would say, this is like in the general phase of things.
Sorry, are you going to touch on bottom hand first? Because I want to talk about that a little more.
Well, yeah. Bottom hand is just like obviously if you're too low, you're going to be bent over too much, and you're too low. You look like Planet of the Apes.
Yeah. I just want to sharpen it up a little bit more, unless you're going to go back to it after.
No, go ahead.
So top hand, that's the one has the control.
All control and strength.
So what you're talking about with the hook is that keeping the bottom hand loose. So
yes.
One of the issues we find, just to give people an example, is let's take the toe drag, for example.
Yeah. Well, it's the best example. Like, I'm not a toe drag guy, but I love the toe drag because it's the greatest teacher for range of motion.
That's right. So before we get to the weight transfer piece of it, because the weight transfer is obviously huge, but even in regular stick handling, if you're trying to get good range side to side, because what's the goal when you're stick handling or when you're making a move? This is something you talk about all the time, is you're trying to create space. You're trying to make space for yourself, right? Or for somebody else, change angles. And if you don't have good range, then you're not moving a whole lot. So the space isn't being created. So that's why the weight transfer thing, which you'll get to in a sec, is important. But if you take a look at the toe drag, for example, if your bottom hand doesn't move, so if you notice guys that are really good at it, and sometimes people do little quick ones in tight and whatever, but we're talking about the big one where we're making some space. You'll see when guys extend out that their bottom hand will come up almost touching with their top hand. By the time they pull that puck back in, their bottom hand is way down, like towards the blade when they're pulling it in, right? And that bottom hand has to be able to move. That's probably the most common issue I see when we're teaching kids how to stick handle is both hands are glued in place, you know, and you have to be able to let that bottom hand slide up and down as it's needed to make space, to make moves, to increase your range and all that kind of stuff. So I just want to sharpen that a little bit more.
So the dummies approach to this is be like if you took a puck or a ball or whatever, we started stick handling, skates, no skates, doesn't really matter, is just get in a neutral position as if you're coming up the ice. So you got your hands in front of you, okay? Hands in front of you, puck in front of you. There's going to be like a natural position, and get your knees bent to where you would be. It's going to be a natural position. So try to bring the puck out like a foot, 12 inches or so, and see if you can handle the puck with your hands. At the same thing, you can't. So what do you have to do? Well, you can lean over. Well, that's not going to help you, because that's going to get you off balance. So what can you do? A simple adjustment of hand coming up the shaft. No, it doesn't have to be touching, but at the farther out it goes, you can reach, but that hand's got to get closer together. Real simple. Now, stick handle it back in, and you realize that you can't have the hands in the same spot because you'll be stick handling like with your hands up here. So what you have to do is adjust the bottom hand. So with stick handling, shooting, passing, the adjustment, power is always going to come from here. The adjustment's always going to be your bottom hand. So same with shooting, right? Your hands are not going to be in the same spot all the time. Like if you're pulling one in, it's not like you can't do it. You have to adjust your hands. So like when you're playing, and it's really hard to recognize this, but you're going to realize the more that you understand that your hands move around the stick a little bit. Top hand controls it all the time, but the hand moves around the stick a little bit. You're going to change. It's just going to benefit you. You have to do it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you have to do it. So that's that. And then